Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments, the best growth mindset podcast recognized by Million Podcasts and ranked as a top mindset podcast by FeedSpot. We're proud to be in the top 1% on Listen Notes. Join Dr. Alisa Whyte as we explore powerful insights and strategies to elevate your mindset. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Mindset Master Moments, where we uncover strategies, mindsets, and stories that empower us to think differently, live intentionally, and thrive at every stage of our life. I'm your host, of course, Dr. Alisa Whyte, the #1 mindset disruptor, and today we're diving into a topic that affects all of us. What it really means to thrive in life, no matter what stage of the journey you're in. Our guest today has spent decades leading in business, living around the world, and exploring what it truly means to live with vitality, purpose, joy. He holds dual degrees in mathematics and psychology and an MBA from Stanford. And for more than 35 years, ran his own financial services firm, managing complex projects globally. But beyond his professional success, he has dedicated himself to personal growth, environmental conservation, coaching young people, and serving his community. He is an award-winning author of the book, Thriving: How to Create a Healthier, Happier, and More Prosperous Life. It is a powerful guide that offers practical tools for designing your life, overcoming setbacks and aging well, and creating those deeper relationships that every human soul longs for. Please welcome to the show today, Mr. Rand Selig. Mr. Rand, we are so happy and honored to have you here on Mindset Master Moments. Tell us who you are, what you do, and exactly why you do it.
Well, it's great to be here with you this morning today, Dr. Alyssa. I'm going to say doctor because I think that's an honorary, it's an honorific that you well deserve. So,
Thank
is,
you.
I've, as you mentioned, it was a nice introduction. I am very focused now on engaging with people in all stages of life about the possibility of getting on this road to
Yeah.
thriving in their lives. And I've had the pleasure of speaking with high school students, with people going through transitions of various types, whether it's changing jobs, changing a career, getting out of or getting into an important relationship. The retirement question, which I say don't use the word retirement, use the word rewirement. Much better because it opens
Mm.
the door to a whole new set of possibilities for yourself. And I've even spoken with people in retirement homes where I say, look, here, there are 10 main things about aging well. Everybody ages, but not everybody ages well. And starting
Right.
off the list is having purpose. And these folks look at me like, well, my purpose is having a yummy lunch tomorrow. And I go, well, that's good. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're going to enjoy. You're looking forward to your lunch. But purpose doesn't have to be this giant uh, headline winning kind of thing. It can be
Exactly.
you showing up as a nice person, being kind, being interested in somebody, being helpful. Some new resident shows up and you say, hey, I've been here for 3 years and I've learned a bunch of things. I'd be more than delighted to visit with you and share what I've learned so that you can have as good an experience here at this retirement home as I have. That's purpose, and that's mighty purpose.
Oh, I love that definition of purpose. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, it aligns so much with my own. And I think a lot of us, people get stomach aches at the thought of the word purpose. They feel like they have to
Yeah.
throw things away, throw people away, and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I love the simplicity of your definition. Well, let's talk about what motivated you before we dive into thriving. What motivated you to write this book, Mr. Rand?
Well, for a long time, decades even, I've thought that I've had pieces of a life philosophy. And that's the way I ran my little league teams. It's the way I was a scoutmaster. It's certainly the way I raised my children, who are two fantastic people, doing great things in the world. It's just the way I roll. So I decided I'd
Mm,
put it all together, kind of as a legacy project for
mm,
family and special friends. And I wisely early on sent my manuscript to three special friends. They'd known me for a long time. Several had written books, and I said, "Please give me some feedback. Not only I'm not particularly interested in the typos. If you see one, that's fine. But I'm really interested in your critique. I respect you, and I'd like to know what's missing as well."
mhm,
And they
mhm.
all came back after a careful read and said no. And I thought, oh no, I've spent a lot of time. I'm going to throw this away. And they said, no, you
Ah.
can't make this a small little project. This has got to be big. You've got to publish this. You've got to get this in the hands of as many people as possible.
Yes.
And boy, was that a nice shot in the arm. So it reconfirmed what my publisher said. If you know why you're writing a book, it'll
Yes.
sustain you. It'll give you energy.
Yes.
uh, Whereas if you don't, then you'll be facing a lot of headwinds that may just blow you over.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. Why the why behind everything, we have a philosophy in my team that if you don't know the reason for a thing, you're gonna misuse and abuse it,
Oh,
possibly, and you'll
right.
have a whole lot of misfires. That's kinda like how we end up going around mulberry bush and not really doing a whole lot, but not achieving much. So I love that you had such clear sense of purpose and direction, and kudos to the people on your team. So I get to sit here and glean from your wisdom and all these other thousands of people who will come across this podcast along the way. So let's dive into thriving a little bit. I love that word so much because a lot of us don't realize it, but we live in a survival mode framework. So, when we think about not just getting back, can you start us off by sharing what thriving really means to you and why you felt compelled to offer your path and your journey and your learnings under this theme of thriving?
Well, from a definitional standpoint, thriving boils down to uh, taking the power that we all have, but we sometimes relinquish that power. The power
Yeah.
to make choices about how we spend our time, who we spend our time with, what our habits are, and even our feelings, our emotions. People look at me say emotions is a choice, and I say yes, it is. And I'll give you an example. You can choose to be positive, which I'm
Mm,
relentlessly positive, or you can choose to be cynical and angry.
yeah. Yeah.
And those are choices, and they may be behind the scenes, but they are going on. And if you focus on it, look at it closely, be honest with yourself, you'll see the choices you're making. So, thriving to me, and this is the way the book is organized, is four interrelated elements. One is
Mm,
thriving personally. That includes many key elements. It's like building character. It's
mhm.
having gratitude. It's having purpose, like we were talking about a minute ago.
Yeah.
It's looking at your emotions, the good ones and the bad ones, having them in a way that works for you, and including the emotion of dying. Um, a lot of people are very conflicted about dying, either their own death or somebody that they especially care about, and
Yes.
that there's a way of holding that so it's not so depleting. So there's a group of things, very key elements to thriving personally. I say the most important relationship you'll ever have in your life is the one with yourself.
Yes. Agreed.
From there, I go to thriving with others, and that's exploring the architecture of building relationships. A lot
Mhm.
of people I've observed have friends who are about their own age, and they made
Mhm.
those friends maybe in school, maybe at some earlier stage in their life, but the way they form friendships is not very clear to them, and they have a difficult time making them deeper and enduring. So I explore
Yeah.
that with the idea that it is possible. And I have that as a personal experience. About 15 years ago, I woke up one morning and said, "Well, I'm built a really good life for myself. What could make it even better?" And I said, "Oh, having a few more really close friendships, people
Mm,
that I could share things with, I could learn from, people I wasn't going to hold back and say, hey, I better not share that." So I picked six friends. They happen to all be males, although I have many female friends too. And I realized also I needed to be vulnerable. They probably saw me
yeah.
as this guy who was very successful and had a great family and all those good things. But I called them all up one at a time and said, "Hey, I've got this thing going on. I'm really not very clear about what to do. I'm a little conflicted. I'm a little perplexed. Do you have any thoughts for me?" And wow, that was the winning card. They all of them, well, 5 out of 6 immediately said, "Oh, I do have some advice. You're gonna get through this. I have great confidence in you. Here's what happened to me." And they then began over the next period of time sharing personal stories in their own
Mm,
lives. And so all of a sudden it just moved it several steps into a much deeper, more important relationship. The
relationship.
one that it
Mhm.
did not move the needle, uh, it was fine. It was a fine relationship. It just he wasn't prepared for more depth. I guess he had other things in his life, and I was prepared for that too. So no harm, no foul.
No harm.
It all worked out. Um, in that section of relationships with others, I also have a chapter about leadership and management.
Mm,
Very important. We all are, we lead ourselves, we manage ourselves, we are followers at various times. So I explore what that looks like in our personal
mm-hmm.
lives and also at the workplace. And there's a big difference between being a leader and being a
And being a
manager.
manager. Yeah. Yeah.
The third section of the book is about thriving out in the world. And that means being of service, being philanthropic and generous. It means being charitable. It means volunteering for things.
Yeah.
Maybe you're on a board. Maybe you're just in the neighborhood helping somebody who needs some help. That's thriving out in the world. And I also say we have to take care of Mother Earth. It's really important. She needs our help, and we have a big possibility of messing it up or continuing to mess it up.
It up. Definitely.
And then
Wow.
the fourth section is thriving by moving ever forward in life. And this is
Mm,
where I introduce the whole possibility of being a lifelong learner,
mm,
learning from your mistakes, not saying, "Wow, that's makes me a mess of a person." Not at all. You can learn from your mistakes. You can be a better person. You can evolve as a person. You can collect your wisdom, observe it, write it down. I think there's absolutely no substitute for writing things down, making it clear, seeing it on the page, whether you do it with the old fashioned way with pen and paper or whether you do it electronically, still looking at it moves it into a very different place where you can really embrace it and then make use of it. So those are
yes.
four. It's a very high bar for thriving. And I also, just because I don't want people to feel like this is an impossible uh, set of things for them to do, I say thriving is the climate. It's the average over time. It's not today. You could be having a bad day. That's okay. That's the
Right.
weather. But the climate is where it's about the average over time.
The average over time. I love that. That's a great concept. Oh, wow. And so it's again, I've had the pleasure of reading some of the book already. And one of my favorite things you talked about was the power of personal choice, the intentional decisions we make that shape quality of our lives. Can you share an example of how a small but intentional choice can completely shift someone's vitality and sense of purpose?
Well, since we talked about purpose, and I mean, there are many examples, and I've lived them, so I
Yeah.
cannot. I observed a lot of other people.
Yeah.
who've been down that road and are very fine people. They work hard, but they're not thriving. They're not being intentional about some of the things they're doing. Um,
Mhm.
I'll pick one. I started my career on Wall Street, and it didn't take me very long to get there to realize, wow, I don't really relate to a lot of the people who are here. They're talking about money for money's sake, to show
Yeah.
off, to have more toys and things. I said, I don't personally relate to that.
Mhm.
Fortunately, I would say that most of the people that I dealt with on Wall Street were amoral, not immoral, but amoral, and that gave me a little more comfort about it. But I realized I was built differently. I wanted to be of service. I wanted to work with companies that I believed in, companies that were providing a product or service that I thought was good for the planet and good for people rather than just a way to make some money for the shareholders or the owner of the company.
Mhm.
And so it took me a dozen years to sort that out. And that was a lot of work to finally figure out what it was I was going to be. I thought for a while maybe I should be a forest ranger, but I worked with a career coach, a self-paced program, and he asked me questions like, "Who's your hero?" And I said, "Oh, well, that's easy, Tarzan." Helping the animals, helping people who are in
Yes.
distress. My name Randolph, my full name Randolph, comes from Randolph Scott, who was a very big figure in westerns in the 1950s. And my father named me Randolph because he said he was strong, he always wore the white hat, and he took care of the little people. And
Yes.
when I learned that, I said, "Wow, I'm going to stand tall for that." So the starting my own company took a while, but I was very focused on what we do and how we do it. I wrote down 5 key principles that we've used throughout the entire period. Our company was named the best sustainable investment banking firm in the San Francisco Bay Area last year. That's a
Mhm.
big that's a big feather in our cap, and we did it because the way we approach our clients not with the idea of, "Oh, great, we can, close another deal and make some money," but rather
Mhm.
meeting or exceeding their objectives and sorting that out with them upfront, and then returning to that question again and again to make sure
Wow.
we're on track. And before we
Yeah.
close a deal, that they
Yeah.
would hopefully continue to say, I'm so delighted with this.
Wow. Wow, I love that. That's an amazing example. I'm just thinking about you swinging from the trees because earlier you showed me your beautiful backdrop, and it was just such a beautiful scenery. And I'm like, no wonder you're living there. I wonder what you're doing when we're not recording podcast. Oh, one of the other things that stood out to me in your work is the idea of resilience. We talk a lot about there's a big theme here on Mindset Master Moments. It's not just bouncing back, but bouncing forward when people
Yeah.
face setbacks. How do they begin to reframe obstacles as opportunities? What is your take on that?
Well, I think there's several ways to soften that question because it can be punishing. You have a setback and you can say, "Oh no, I've got to revisit who I am. My identity is now smashed. I'm no longer this person I thought I was. I've just gotten fired. Whatever happened. Somebody I cared for deeply has said, we're done. What do you do with that? Well, one thing I tell people is that life is a series of experiments.
Mhm.
I don't know other people talking about it that way, but I think it's really true. If you hold it that way, you realize if remember seventh grade science, you did some experiments, and sometimes you were really lucky and it worked out just great the first time, but sometimes you had to tweak it, you had to fix it, and then it worked. And sometimes it never worked, it failed.
Right.
And that is
Right.
what life is all about. It's a series of these potholes that we fall into and then we get out of. It's about making sure you know how to get out of them.
Mhm.
This is where I think a lot of parenting is not as effective, and I've seen that, on the baseball field and in my uh, work as a scoutmaster. Parents lovingly want to have their kid avoid the potholes of life. And that really is not a good idea because it robs the kid of learning how to solve the problem themselves. If the kid knows that you're there and your hand is always ready to help them out of the hole if they can't
Mm,
get there themselves, and they know that you're not disapproving them, that you're there to help them, then
yes.
they have more energy and power to get out of the hole themselves. And that's what you want for them. I'm absolutely sure that's what parents want. But they sometimes exceed that by trying to have them avoid the hole in the first place, which
Yeah.
can make a parent go crazy.
Right, exactly. And we know when we were kids, and sometimes our parents just seemed like they were crazy to us. Oh my goodness. You also bridge science and practice, pulling from psychology and real world strategies. What are some of those science backed tools that you can help our listeners with to thrive daily, even when life just feels heavy and overwhelming?
Well, I mentioned being relentlessly positive, and there is
Mm,
scientific studies that show if you are positive,
you
you
get
will add
positive.
7 to 8 years to your life. And
Oh,
I'm thinking that's also happier years, because
yes.
being positive gives you a chance to smile. It gives you a chance to see something from that vantage point where, hey, it's amazing. It wasn't 100% of everything I was hoping for, but look at the parts of it that are really great. This is
Yes.
this is leans into a related area of gratitude.
Yes.
This is one of the things that I think a lot of people also say, well, things are so bad for me right now. I just got a call from the doctor and they gave you some really bad news. How can I be grateful in having heard that? And I say, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have that news, but let's explore what the good news is and what you could be grateful for. One, it could have
Right.
been worse.
Right.
Two, you might not have uh, doctors or other medical support people that you trust and who are going to really step up and do a good job for you. You
Right.
have the financial wherewithal. You can buy the medicines. You
Hmm.
can, maybe have to, check into the Canadian pharmacy system, but yeah, there's ways for you. You're fortunate that way. You should, and being grateful
Yes,
for that.
because there are people
Look at the
walking around and
people.
they have no access to those things.
Yeah, and you be grateful for the support you have. Look at the people who, if you need a ride to the hospital, you need somebody to comfort you and just cuddle with you, to say, "Hey, I know it's tough, but I'm here for you. I think you're
Yes,
great, and I love you, or I care deeply for you." And so, explore what other things are happening for you aside from this not so great piece of news right now.
right. That
Being
focus
grateful.
alone that focus alone just gives you so much sustenance to go through the process, and I've gone through some pretty life-threatening and scary, times several times in my life's journey, and that positivity is it's not there's I know there's a word that's called, what is it called? Something psychology. It's positive psychology, but then people use it to mean like you're just pretending to be. But
Oh,
honestly, when you're in that place of gratitude, it really just shifts your energy and it shifts the energy around every of everyone else around you. It sort of brings things into a sort of order that sometimes seems so surreal to you or even the people around you, and they question, "How are you so at peace?" Well, because I'm grateful. I've been where I'm sitting laying there and the prognoses are horrible, and I'm
yeah.
just, "Okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? Okay, we got that, we got that. All right." And I'm just kind of moving along with what is available to me. Maybe at that time I have to spend a few weeks in bed and then get out for maybe a few minutes with help. And I've done that and, made a full recovery because I knew as long as I'm alive, like there's so much left with me to do. As long as I'm breathing is how I look at it. As long
Yeah.
as I have breath, there is purpose. And I'm going to have a good time, whatever that looks like. A good time might mean something totally different. It might mean me laughing at myself while my mom helps me clean up and get a dry bath. It might mean for some people when they're going through medical crises, it might have tubes coming out of them in
Yeah.
different places. But if you can breathe and you can
Yeah.
see and you can smell, there's just enough to be grateful for. And until, I mean, I guess I get to say I've been fortunate enough to see sort of death and things that will just take you out or cripple you. I've gone through that a few times in my journey where my gratitude level is so simplistic. I get grateful for things that I feel like at some point in my journey, it was just what life is. And now for me, it's like,
Mhm.
ooh, let me savor
Beautiful.
this, you know?
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, because of your experience and the way you held it, you can lean into that and it becomes this enormous reservoir of
Yes.
energy and outlook. And so I could just see it. I could just see it. Just by
Thank you.
talking to you. That's where you are. And it's a joy. I mean, it's a very attractive quality. This is the
Thank you.
thing
And it is. Yeah.
a thing that so many people once they dial into it, even smiling. Mother Teresa says the smile is the beginning of love. I mean, I find
Yeah.
myself smiling and the people saying hello to me, and I'm going, oh,
Yes.
I don't, I'm smiling back. I say, well, good morning, I hope you have a great day, and then
Right.
walk by. I mean, it's the possibility of that. And where other people don't realize it, but they kind of have a sour demeanor. They're
Mhm.
kind of frowning. Maybe they're thinking about something. I remember going to a meeting a bunch of years ago, and I was concentrating really hard. And when I concentrate, sometimes I furrow my brow. And the person said,
Mm.
"Are you angry with what I'm saying?" And I go,
No,
oh
I'm just
no.
thinking.
Oh, I immediately, softened my face. I said, "No, I'm just concentrating. What you're saying is I'm writing down notes. I'm thinking about this really hard. I
Yeah,
want to, really embrace this." And I said, "Well, see, you're frowning. Do you realize you're frowning?" I said, "Thank you for letting me know, because that's not
right.
not
Mm,
really what I'm intending." And
right,
there is a communication, of course. The
right.
nonverbal communication is a huge part of how we relate to other people. So at that point, I said, "Well, get the smile on, buddy."
Yes, and I love that he said that to you,
Yeah.
because then you know how to show up and you're more conscious of it, because a lot of people would just talk about it behind your back instead of
Yeah.
saying, "I was talking to Rand and I don't know, he was just frowning the whole time." Instead of saying, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but you're frowning," because I have a way when I am seriously into work mode or thinking mode, I don't know, I have different looks on my face and I'm told and until you're around me a lot, it doesn't make sense. But I'm also goofy at it too, so you never know. It depends. But when I love when people, that's one of the things I was asked when I'm making new relationships because we have our cultural differences and sometimes it's just our person to person differences. A lot of times we talk about cultural differences. I'm like, that's just an over exaggeration because really and truly, everyone has their own culture. Like
Yeah.
I have things, my siblings and I were raised in the same home. And when we were in the home, we sort of went by the same kind of we show up typically the same way in a lot of ways, but as we grew and became adults and we go through our own learning and growth processes and our own, struggles and different things, we developed our own persona, more to
Hmm.
speak. And so as we interact, you see those differences and you're like,
Yeah.
Why you do that? You never did that before." And so it's always a space of welcoming with curiosity is what I say is part of my
Yeah.
thriving mechanism is thriving with good open communication and staying curious. So, hey, Ran, I noticed when we're doing like we're going through the accounts, you have like a knitted brow. What does that mean for you? on first round is like, I don't even know I'm knitting. But usually when we're doing accounting, I'm really trying to make sure these numbers add up. And that's the look I have. So now I know that's a look you have. And I don't need it. My thing is not necessarily request or require a change unless it's really the change it is in me, Rand, where, okay, so I now know that the knitted brows is him focusing and adapting. So now I'm not asking you not to knit your brow. I am learning and understanding you knitting your brow where you're at, what it means. And so that's communication now that's flowing. A lot of times as humans, we're asking people to make adjustments. And when they don't, we are sourpuss about it, or we're angry, or we don't want to interact. And so what I've done in my journey of thriving and moving upward is ask for understanding and clarity, and
Hmm.
then do my
Hmm.
best to do what I'm fully in control of is control my response and my attitude towards that situation, person, place, thing, or event. And that to me is one of my biggest secrets of thriving in my life, why I keep joy and I keep at peace and I'm able to get through things that are not so favorable a lot quicker than I used to. I don't want to compare myself again to anyone. What are your takes on that
Well,
personal responsibility?
that's enormously important. You cannot be pointing the finger at somebody else and get through this. No, you
Mm,
have to take personal responsibility, even if the other person has clearly contributed an enormous amount, maybe the vast majority of the issue. It's still up to you as to how you're going
yes.
to feel about it and what you're going to do about it. Um, I talk about three elements to having emotional health.
Mhm.
One is forgiving. You have to forgive yourself. You have to be honest about it. You have to say, okay, I blew this. I was not that person that I wanted to be, and I didn't do a good job. But you learn from that and you carry forward. You have to forgive other people as well. Even if they're not on the planet or not in your life anymore, you can still write a letter and say, hey, here's what happened, how I saw it, how I felt about it. I think you owed me an apology. I didn't
Mm,
get it, but I'm forgiving you now, and
yes.
then you can let go of that. So forgiving is one. Stopping self-sabotaging. Oh my gosh, this happens
Mm,
so often. I hear it all the time. People say, "Oh, I can't do that," or if I put my hand up to volunteer, they won't take me, so I won't even bother to put my hand up to volunteer. I saw this when I was in college. As a math major, I was a tutor, and people would come in within the first, 60 seconds. They say, "I'm not good at math." I said,
mm,
"Well, let's work on some problems together," and we'd work on
yeah.
together, and we'd solve those. And then I'd say, "Will you try a few?" And I'd give them some tips and some, "Hey, look at this and look at that," and they'd get it. And then I'd say, "Now you do it without me doing anything," and they'd get the problem. It takes several sessions, and they go, "Wow, math is fun." And so, in a fairly brief period of time, I went from "I'm no good at math" to "Hey, this is a fun thing that I'm willing, and I can't get them
Yes.
all. I can't get all the problems, or I have to work extra hard on some of the problems. That's okay." So that's the second. But the third one is letting go. And
Yeah.
letting go was actually, of these three, was the hardest for me because I thought, oh, I was all about control. I was
Mm,
all about being in charge, running my company, having great family, doing all these things, having titles here, there, and everywhere else. And I realized, with the help of my kids and my wife, that I was not controlling everything I thought I was. In fact, I was only, as I looked at it more closely, I was really only controlling four things. I was
mm,
controlling my attitude. I was
mm.
controlling the amount of effort I was willing to put into something. I was controlling my behavior, and I was controlling the resulting actions. Everything after that was other people, and that was influence. And if I did a good job, I could influence them positively. And if I didn't do such a good job, my influence went away. So that was a big wake up call. I actually do this little thing. I don't know if Dr. Alyssa, you want to do it with me, but I hold up my hand. I say, okay, you're holding on to something. You're holding on to it tightly. You're holding
Uh-huh.
on to it so tightly you can see your knuckles are
Yeah.
lighter than the rest of your hand. Okay, you
Yeah.
say you want to let go of the thing, and you're thinking of that particular thing, and turn your fist over, you're looking on the other side. Yep, knuckles are lighter, and you're still holding on. But then, and I joke, maybe you read Rand's book, and now you can be in charge. You can let go, and you open your hand, your fingers, wiggle your fingers and your thumb, and what happens almost magically is your hand rises because it's so much lighter because you let
Ye
go of that
Go over
heavy thing that was holding you
Yes.
back. And so I used to do that exercise a lot because
Mm.
I was not letting go, and then I was frustrated or disappointed, and then I started doing it. I'd always smile. I always go, "Ha ha, there you go again." And now I do it periodically, but I don't have to do it so much. Maybe because I'm a little more humble, a little more honest
Yes.
with, with what I'm controlling. So
Mm.
I think that's a really important message, and it relates to this idea of feedback. You touched on a number of really juicy, important points. One was that we don't get as much feedback as we could benefit from. We don't have as many
Right.
mentors as we
Right.
could have, but even in the more casual thing, and that takes invitation. You need to
Yes.
say,
I love
"Hey,
that.
I'm coachable. I'm willing to, if you see me doing something, I don't know, whatever the relationship is at the workplace or in a personal relationship, you see me doing something that doesn't work for you or something you're perplexed about,
I
please let me
welcome it.
know. Please let
Yeah.
me know. Absolutely. I can't guarantee I'm going to change. I can't
Exactly.
guarantee I'm going to love your comments, but
Exactly.
I can tell you
I
I will
welcome it.
listen closely,
Yeah.
and I want to be the best person I can be, and I welcome your input. So, and then there's I think it helps a relationship if you're willing to give feedback too. You have to time it. You have to say, would you like to hear some feedback? They may say no, or they may say, well, yeah, which really is a no.
Right.
So and they can't be hungry and they can't be tired, and you have to say, "Hey, is this a good time?" All those things. But giving somebody else feedback that you want to build a relationship with is it's a gift. And if you're doing it out of kindness, not to prove you're right or to make them wrong, then you're in good place.
I love that. To prove them, not to prove yourself right and make them wrong, or either or. You're definitely, because that those intentions again matter. What's behind your actions more than anything else. That's and
Yeah,
speaking of intentions, one of the things I know that our audience cares deeply about is designing their life with intention. And so you talk about becoming the architect of your future. What does that
yeah.
look like in practice, and how can someone start that process if they're feeling stuck today?
Yeah. Well, I talk about two interrelated things. One is being the designer of your own life, making decisions. Where we were talking before the show began, maybe you're going to move to maybe to California, maybe some other place. Well, that's a decision. You're going to do it very intentionally. I know. I just know, having spent the time with you, you're going to have your eyes open. You're going to be asking good questions. You're not going to just take it for granted. You're going to
Yes.
do your research and check it out. So, designing your own life means making those decisions. Who are you spending time with?
Mhm.
What work are you doing? A lot of people wake up and they go, "Oh no, I have to go to work again." Well, either change your work environment, make better relationships with your supervisors, your managers, or ask for a different position, manage up, or maybe change companies, change jobs, change
Mhm.
careers.
Mhm.
These are choices, and you don't have to just accept that there's no other options for you. I just don't. I don't accept that. I don't accept that.
Right.
And I hope other people would say, "I'm going to do more
Right.
to get." the job I like, the amount of pay I deserve for making the contributions I made. All of these elements to constructing, designing your own life, the relationships you have. If you are the average of the five people you spend
People,
the most time with, right? If
Jim
people
Rohn.
have heard that a
Yeah.
lot. Well, what
Yeah.
if you're the smartest? What if you're the funniest? What if you're the most curious? You're the most in everything. Well, wow, you might need to be thinking about adding some
Upgrade.
other people
You gotta
to,
upgrade.
you know, people who can make you laugh and teach you some jokes and some
Yes.
things to do. So the designer of your own life gives you great power, and I've done that again and again and again in my life, and it pays enormous dividends.
Ah,
Because then I've built a life that is based on my values, based on what
yes.
I'm good at, based on what I care about.
Yes.
As opposed to just letting life come at me and me having to be on the conveyor belt, which is going to go, I don't know where it's gonna take my suitcase, but it may not be to the part of the airport I want. So,
Uh,
but related to that is being the author of your own
yeah.
story, and it's
Yeah.
related, but it's a little bit different. Now that I'm a published author, I can talk about this with a little bit of authority, and that is, you can edit and you can delete parts of your story that don't
Yeah.
serve you anymore. Either they bore
Yes.
you or they bore everybody else. And so
Yes.
you can get on with the way you hold yourself and the way you tell your story. And very importantly, you can begin thinking about and writing different scenarios for your future. So you have different
Mhm.
ways in which your life can unfold over the next period of time, whether that's decades or, a whole lot of time
Yes.
that you have. And what are you going to do with the time you have? What kind of person do you want to be?
Yes. I love that. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So, so good. Oh, Mr. Rand, we have this segment that's called Flip the Script here on Mindset and Mastery Moments, where we always do something where we ask our guests to share a time they had to make a major mindset shift in order to thrive. Rand, can you share a moment from your own life when you had to flip the script? What changed for you?
Well, I just almost exactly a year ago, my dad passed away. He was 102. He died peacefully in his sleep. And as
Mm,
soon as I got the phone call, I just wave after wave of gratitude. My dad was a very tough guy.
mm,
We buried him at Arlington National Cemetery because he served in World War II in Korea and Vietnam.
mm.
Huge career. His first career, he had a second career also that was enormous. But
Yeah.
as a person and the relationship I had with him was never emotionally close. It was
Mm.
always very tough and painful. It's kind of like two bulls, the old bull and the young bull kind of struggling. Who was going to be
Yeah.
more dominant? Who's going to be right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
this went on for decades.
Mm.
As I ran my company, as I raised my kids, there was always a sort of a whiff of disapproval or not
Mm.
enough. And I never got the sense that he was proud of me or that he loved me. And
Mm.
so I finally wrote him a letter because that
Mm.
was a safe place to go. But I handed him a letter. I said, Dad, please read this now. And he read the letter and he says, okay, I get it. Um, you know, thanks very much. Very sort of brisk and a little harsh. And I
Yeah.
realized as I was writing that letter that what I had to do, if there was going to be a change in this relationship, it was going to be by me. He was not
Yeah.
going to be the one
He
to
was not
change.
gonna do. Yeah. Yeah.
And the change I needed to make is I needed to respect him more. I had to
Mm.
continue to see the qualities he had. Maybe he wasn't exhibiting them with me, or
Right.
maybe not with my sister or my mother, but he was, oh my gosh, a big guy with a lot of other people, very helpful, very caring. They
Mm,
admired him tremendously. I had to look at that. I had to recognize, I had to respect that. And I had to listen to his stories. He told stories and they went on and on. And I heard it again and again. I'd say, okay, well, ask some questions about it, penetrate the story more. Don't just fall asleep on the story. And don't expect that he's going to do anything that you need.
you
You know,
right,
do
right.
you need him to say something to you? I,
Yeah.
I went to a friend who is a counselor, and I said, "Hey, can we talk?" And he said, "Sure." Is it about your dad again? And I said, "Yeah, it is." He said, "Okay, heard the latest version." He says, "Rand, write a letter to your dad, the dad you wish you had, the dad
Mm,
you think you deserve." And now you
mhm,
have 2 dads. You have the real dad, and then you have this other dad you can put on your shoulder who whisper in your
mhm.
ear. The letter you're gonna write is the letter of having spent a weekend together, how much fun you had, how the
Wow.
conversation was enormous, how you felt seen and appreciated. That's the dad that you can
Right.
create in your own. So, at that point, I had 2 dads,
See?
and, um it was a moment of flipping that switch. There's a series of these pieces I put together, but changing that relationship, I unfortunately, as I say, died at 102. So this went on
Yeah.
for 25 years. I had switched that relationship, and it made a huge difference, and certainly towards the end, and then the funeral and memorial service. I was just there. I was totally present.
Mm.
I gave great eulogies out of love, out of respect, out of a sense of appreciation and gratitude for what he had taught me.
I love it. I love it. That is a brilliant story. Thank you so much for being vulnerable. That is a brilliant story, and we often say here on the podcast that that level when you did that letter, that this is the letter of that second dad, a dad that would be in the relationship that you idealize, your brain just reprogrammed a whole bunch of new neurons that
Yeah.
pulls into action in your reality, tangible physical life, because your brain doesn't know the difference between a visualization or a memory or a even
Mm,
a or a,
mm.
it thinks and it sends messages that hey, I'm good, I'm safe, I'm happy, and I'm enjoying positivity, and that's all that your body and mind and soul really needs to help you thrive. So I love that story. I love that. We ask every guest, what is success for you?
Well, thank you for that question. It's enormously important to get on top of that. The
Yeah,
messages we get regularly, daily even, are about success being based on material things, based on financial things. And
yeah,
having spent my career dealing with a lot of very wealthy people who I did not think were successful, and people were, "What do you mean? You they had a company and you sold the company, and they, the wow, they're very wealthy now." And I said, "Yeah, but take a look at their relationships. All around them, failed business relationships, their families not talking to them. Look, they've
children
been
are out
so
of yeah,
hard at work that they've not taken care of themselves physically, and their
yeah,
emotional health is not very great either. They snap at so they're hard to deal with. These are not successful people." So I saw that. I've seen that a lot, and so I said, okay, it's time for me now to talk about what does success mean to me, and I've been asked that many times. uh, it's a very personal and individual question. So it's
it
not like
is.
one size is going to fit all, and that's part of the territory. But it starts with an internal thing. It's not external measures. It's what's
Mhm.
internal to you. There are a lot of different components, and they may change over time. So I
It
think it's
does.
kind of like a basket of
It
goodies
is.
about
I love it.
success.
Yeah.
But um, I have a group of them. It's a longer list, but I'll shorten it. But it starts with living authentically.
Ah,
where there's an alignment, a complete alignment with what I'm doing and what my values are.
yes,
That I'm living with purpose and I have a mission that I have. So that gives vitality. Aging well is not about longevity; it's about vitality. And we're all
vitality.
aging, so I don't care if
Yes.
you're, in your 20s or you're in your 70s or later. Vitality is a key thing.
Yes.
Uh, Being positive, being grateful, we've talked about those, having a peace of mind. Oh my
Mm,
gosh, this is in a turbulent world we live in. You look at the news and that's not peaceful. You
no,
know,
no.
so
You
having
have to go the extra mile to maintain peace. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. So, having great relationships with yourself and then with others, this is all part of being a successful person. And I believe strongly that if you're committed to evolving, that you're learning about yourself and the
Mm-hmm.
world. You're curious. These are all elements of being a successful person, and you're holding the reins. That you
Mm-hmm.
are in charge. You're responsible. You have the power to make these choices we talked about of
Yes.
who you are and how you want to spend your time and your habits. Take a look, do an inventory, and
Yes.
then check your emotions and your feelings, and see whether they're serving you well. And get on top of that. You can
Y-
drive your own bus, and
You can try
if you're driving your own bus, you're deciding how fast to go. You're
Yes.
deciding when to stop and when to turn, right or left. This is to design your life business. And you can decide, if you're driving your own bus, who to invite on. It's really good to have friends of all
Mm,
ages. That was a lesson from my dad. It was amazing.
yes.
And so I've done that. And you can decide also who to invite off your bus. There are times when your bus, when you start off in life, your bus has people on it already. And as you go
Yes.
through life,
You can
they
decide.
things are happening, and people may be coaching you or counseling you or just bossing you around, where they might be doing it because they think that's being kind and loving, but it's not
Yes.
who you are
It's
and not what you want to be, and that's not
exactly.
helpful. And that can be toxic. And so
Um,
you need to be aware of that. And maybe they are way in the back of the bus, or maybe they don't get on you get invited off the bus.
yes. Oh, I love those. Oh, wow. That is a recipe. I'm going to go back and listen to this when this is published and listen to that recipe because I felt so much alignment, but it's by far I have not heard it's almost like you gave this your recipe for success. And that's a little
Yeah,
bit deeper, another level from what I'm used to hearing. I love to hear it. Like you said, it's very personal. So
yeah,
it's hearing the different versions of definition of success and knowing I love the key thing you said is that it's fluid. It changes, so you
yeah,
feel like it's a basket of goodies. And I love that. I'm going with
yeah.
the basket of goodies. One
Basket of
other thing
goodies.
yeah, yeah. One other thing that we love to do is called Mindset Bites to go. It's a quick takeaway that you leave with our audience, one piece of advice, and you can give them to help them start thriving today. I'll step away from the camera and the microphone, and it's all you. I'll do that now.
Well, I guess we're recording. I think it helps enormously to decide what kind of person you want to be. And once you bring that person into the world, then you can start doing. I think it's like a flower. It starts with that bee, being a certain kind of person, and then doing things, not the other way around. You don't do and then you fall into being. I think it's the other way. If you're really thriving, you're at peace, you're making great choices, you're taking care of yourself, you're being a certain kind of person. You're treasuring relationships more than your possessions. You're like Zig Ziglar said, be the kind of person when if somebody said something bad about you, no one, and I emphasize no one would believe it. Be that kind of person. This is all absolute possibility. So be the person you want to be, continue to be the best person you can be. And from there, then you can start doing. And if you do based on the be, then great things will be happening.
Awesome. That is so good. We have gotten so much from you to put in our toolbox to help us really, really thrive. And we want to know, how do we get, or what is your favorite way for us to get a copy of Thriving?
Oh, I think the best thing would be to go to the book website, which is, of course, www.randselig.com, RandSelig.com. And there's lots of information about me, about the book. There's some unbelievable testimonials.
Yes.
Um, Including from the head of Kaiser Permanente and Chip Connolly and many other really great people. What they have to say is, my wife read these and said, "Wow, I guess this book is real, and I guess you are too." So so, that
Great.
you can connect with me, if you, wanna invite me into your living room with your book group or to your company, some kind of presentation. You can give me feedback. You can say, "Hey, I wasn't clear about this particular element of what you're saying. Could you, explain that a little bit more?" Or, "Actually, I disagree with you about something." All of that's possible, in the Connect, page. There's extra materials also, because the audiobook is coming very soon. I
Ah.
have one of the things that my readers say they love is that in the back of the book are 75 paragraphs of books I've read that
Mhm.
really impacted me. And so I don't read those in the audiobook, but I make them available on the website. So you can look at that. There's also 40 of my favorite quotes from the book. People say they love those. They love the quotes. They love how they're positioned to amplify a point that I'm making. So that's available on the website. And of course, you can order the book through Amazon or any of the independent stores with a click there.
So amazing. Mr. Selig, you have just brought so much wisdom and giving such practical tools for us to not just survive, but thrive. I know so many people are going to find your message of so much value in their life. For those who want to dive deeper, you can find Rand's book, Thriving, and connect with him at www.randselig.com. It's here in the show notes wherever you're listening and watching this. Also, we have his LinkedIn in the show notes as well. You can connect with him there and shoot him over a message. Let him know you heard him here on Mindset Mastery Moments. And to all our listeners, remember this: thriving is not an accident, it's the result of intentional choices, resilience, and the courage to design your life with purpose. I'm Dr. Alisa Whyte with my co host here, Mr. Rand Selig, saying thank you for being here. Remember, keep mastering your mindset, think, speak, do, become, and keep climbing higher. Your life is to thrive and not just to survive. We'll see you real soon. Bye now.